I've been waiting for November, and now I'm getting into the second week of it, and I'm once again being surprised by the nuances in this game. Even knowing that there's a formula behind the scenes that dictates the weather, I still thought there was somewhat of a predictability to it. So when in another game, playing this far into the war, I reached a stage of heavy mud that lasted 3 turns, I felt that that was going to be what pretty much happened as I reached here. That is not the case. So as November 9th arrives and I start looking around the map, met with a few surprises. One being I'm in the middle of a blizzard. And I am filled with curiosity on how this changes things going forward. But returning to the usual tour of the front lines. My opponent continues to push his initiative towards the city of Krasnodar. We'll return to this in a minute. But it is northeast of the city of Rostov that things start to look a bit interesting. I don't want to call it retreat, because it's a pullback, I guess is the better way to word it, because it's not like I've forced him to do anything, but his units are falling back. It's probably in a manner to protect supply lines, I'm assuming, but this brings questions to how things are going to proceed down here in the next several weeks. But even with this pullback, he still has aggressively captured my supply depot. This is severed one of the main rail lines that moves southward towards Krasnodar. Moving northward, his units continue to apply pressure east of Veroneza, up towards Tambov, and south of Ryazan. There are no battles in this area this week, so it's kind of just staying toe-to-toe with each other. The area of Rizev, which has been seeing quite a lot of combat, this week sees none. And that I'm not complaining about. I'm also pleasantly surprised to find his forces have retreated out of the Valdai Hills, and I'm honestly not sure why. For even if this was a move based out of getting better supply lines, I can't see him finding anything really better than Leningrad and Peskov and the rail lines that run all the way from Riga, Königsberg, Berlin itself to there. I have nothing that can dislodge him out of those hills at this stage of the war, so I'm very confused as to his retreat here. Now we'll shift into the actual 9th of November, and these are the lines stretching from the Lake Ladoga down to the south of Stalingrad. And I'll take a closer look at the area around Krasnodar. This is where most of the action on his side happened this turn, starting at Tamriok. At Expo Incursion, 17,000 men tried to hit 33,000. It was only the 170th Infantry Division went up against pretty much the strongest of my troops. We hold, so that's not a big deal. But it's the swampland south of that where he sends 3 mountain divisions into 2 of my rifle divisions, and we completely rout and retreat. That takes out about 5,000 men and 79 guns on my side at the cost of only 4 guns for him. And it also makes it abundantly clear that, at least in the south here, I have absolutely nothing to prevent these forces from moving up the Kuban River towards Krasnodar itself. And with his forces coming south from Rostov being equally as powerful, all I can really do here is throw little brigades out in his way. It's kind of a slowing, delaying force, and see if maybe the southern front can come kind of flanking into the city of Rostov as we get into winter and maybe cut his supply lines. So the decisions I made in the air planning phase is to bomb 2 towns, Veroneza and one to the north of it for the rail yards, 2 units, the motorized, heading down towards Krasnodar, and then another one near Rezhev, and then a scouting mission over top of the Valdai Hills to ensure that he actually has retreated. Things go pretty standard with 118 aircraft loss on my end at 0 for him. On the ground, taking advantage of his pullback from the Valdai Hills, the 31st Army recaptures the town of Kretchy. I then follow up this maneuvering with the 27th Army taking up positions in the Valdai Hills, just moving forward 1 hex closer. I would like to build some fortified units in this area, but was unable to, and I'm not sure whether or not that's because it's recently captured terrain. Either way, I'll have time in the future. I'm curious whether or not there'll be a counterattack here, because I do leave some openings on the 2 hexes of clear terrain that he definitely could take advantage of next turn if he wanted to. But I do have other units coming this way in reinforcements, so I'm not really too worried there. The next major decision that I made with my turn is removing the 30th Army from the city of Rezhev. For 2 weeks, they've come under combat. They've done their... Honestly, it's probably the most successful thing that's happened so far for me in this game. So I'm going to bring them back off the line. I'm going to let them rebuild and recuperate. And I'm going to switch the 16th Army to being in charge. I'm also going to fortify 2 areas to the north of the city across the river to attempt to ensure that he doesn't get any further than this point onto his conquest of Moscow. So for at least the time being, it'll be 2 mountain rifle divisions in charge of the city's defenses. And then it's just a matter of moving these new small brigades around to try to help reinforce certain areas. Returning to the city across Nador, this is the small delaying force that I throw up in his path. I'm not sure how successful it's going to be, but if it even holds up for like 2 turns, I'll be happy with it. But moving on to my actual act of aggression for this turn, the 13th Army under Zhukov assaults the SS division. I did have dreams of actually being more successful in this. I do get him to retreat, but I was hoping to not take 100 and some tanks to do it, so I'd have the ability to then follow that up with hitting, I believe that's the 17th Panzer Division. That does not happen, but I still will take this as a little bit of success for now. I do move my units into that hex just to take some terrain, though I do expect to see a counterattack. But yeah, as what I was facing when I first started my turn, I actually see for the first time Russian forces move forward, albeit if it was allowed by my opponent. But I will hastily return this to him. That's a joke because it took me a week to finish this turn. But I'm very curious to see what I get back whenever we start getting towards the end of November. And I guess I got 500,000 people coming my way soon.